Hello everyone. Welcome back to our complete Python course. In this in the previous episode, we have learned about Python collections including list, tuple, sets, and dictionaries. In today's episode, we will learn on file handling and execution and handling. These are essential topic because they help us to store data permanently and write programs that can handle errors without crashing. So let's get started. So today's learning objectives are understand file handling, read, write, and append file, handle executions, and build mini projects. What is file handling? File handling allows us to store data in a file that it can be used later. Instead of losing, instead of losing data when a program closes is we can solve it permanently. Python provides built-in functions to create, read, write, and update files. File handling stores data permanently, read files, write files, and update existing files. It helps us to store. Why do we use file handling? We use file handling to save data permanently, read previous stored data, uh, update existing files, share data between programmers, stores applications, and record and reports. Types of files. Text file stores data in a plain text. For example, text, CV, CSV, and PY. Binary files stores data in a binary format like zeros and ones. For example, images, videos, PDFs, and executable files. Real life examples. Imagine and you are creating a student management system. If you stores that student name and variables, they disappear when the program name closes. But if you save them in a file, the information remains available every time you run the program. This is why handling is so important. File handling stores data permanently. Python uses is the open function to work with the files. File Files can be read, write, and update it and closed. The There are text files and binary files. Think of a computer memory like a whiteboard. When you switch off the computer, everything on the whiteboard is erased. A file is like a notebook where you write information in it, close it, and open it later, and the information is still there. That's why we use file handling. Opening files. Before we can read or write data, we first need to open the file. In the Python, we use the built-in open and function to open the file. This function tells Python which file is to open and what operation we want to perform, such as reading, writing, and mm, appending. Syntax is for syntax for opening the file is as simple as I can see here, and going to show you by the time file equals to open, and then file name dot txt and mode. So here, the file name and text is the name of the file you want to open. Mode would specific specifies how the file will be opened. File a file will object that allows us to work on a file. File modes. File modes. First, to read mode. A file must be already exist. If it does not, if it doesn't exist, Python raises a file not or font error. Write mode W used to write data into a file creates the file will if it doesn't exist. If the file already exists, the previous content is erased. Append file A used to add new data to a to the end of the file creates the file if it does not exist. Existing data remains unchanged. Creating mode X used to create new file will create a new file traces an error or if the file already exists. Read and write mode R plus allows both reading and writing. Writing the file must already exist. Write and read mode W plus allows writing and reading, creates a new file if needed, deletes existing content, and if the file already exists. Append and read mode allows appending new data and reading the file, creates the file if it doesn't exist. Existing data is preserved. Use open to open file. Always choose a correct file mode. R is for reading, W is for writing and overwriting, A is for adding new data, X is for creating a new file. Think of a file like a notebook. If you want to read a notebook, if you want to read a what's already written. You open it in read mode R. If you want to replace everything with new nodes, use write mode W. If you want to, if you only want to add more nodes without deleting the old ones, use append mode. Reading files read lines and read lines. writing files. We've all discussed this. Closing files, close file mode, tells file mode. We have already listed about the file mode, that append, append mode, create mode, and these are all file modes. And the mini projects, like you can make a notes app, introduction to execution handling. What are ex exceptions? Why handle errors? Common expectations: syntax error, name error, type error, value error, index error, error, name not font error, zero division error. Try and accept. Else, and finally, else run if no error. Finally, always run. Braces. And summary. In this lesson, we have learned about the file handling, execution, and handling in reliable Python programs.